Hello, everyone. It is your host, Leani Lopez here, back with a new episode and indeed a new season of I Got Nothing, a podcast for exhausted writers. Now, if you listen to the trailer and seen the posts online, the format of this show is changing just a little bit. But before we get into that, I wanted to just give a little update on what's been going on with me. Now, the hiatus from this lovely podcast came about because I was working on a very important project, a dream project that I had been fantasizing about for about a decade now. And I ended up writing and producing an audio drama called Battle Cry. It is fantasy, and it follows a group of people who are forced to fight mythical beasts in an arena that is led by demons. It was the biggest undertaking I have done to date, and after 2 years of very hard work, the first season is available across all major podcast platforms and on my website. I will put a link in the description. But now that that project is over, I really wanted to come back to this podcast and actually change the format just a little bit. When I first envisioned this podcast, I had always wanted to interview other authors, and so I'm finally able to go that route, and I'm so excited. So for this season and future seasons, I will be interviewing other indie authors like myself. Now, for those of you who don't know, indie authors are authors who publish independently or self-publish. And that's how I've published my books. It's a community I'm a part of, and I wanted to share and showcase these amazing, amazing indie authors that I have met over the years. And so, without further ado, I actually have a special guest with me. So, special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Thank you so much, Leani, for having me on. My name is Kara Zone. I am an indie author, and I just released 2 novels in 2020, this year, 2025. There we go, numbers. And I have 2 short novellas that are out exclusively for newsletter subscribers, also published this year. And I actually do indie publishing consulting, like we had said earlier when we were talking before. I have been in the indie publishing world since 2019, and I've pretty much touched every single part of indie publishing. So I know how horrible it is and how frustrating it is, and I know how slow everything goes. But I also know that there's always a way, there's always another way when something gets, you get stuck or something's in your place. So that's what I like to try to help people do, is figure out the next route when something ultimately changes, because hello, publishing.
It always does. I mean, when I published my first ever novel, it was in 2013, before this was even a thing. Before, indie publishing was like, I remember specifically my friend who edited my first novel, and I was like, I'm going to indie publish. And he was like, isn't that like shooting yourself in the foot?
Mm-hmm.
And this was like over a decade ago.
Right.
And I feel so validated that it has persisted and grown into its own. It's amazing. And that's why I wanted to interview other indie authors. And I'm also an author coach, so I love that you help people with like the indie publishing side, because I love helping people just write the story or even get started, because it's, despite what people think, it's difficult to write.
It is. It is. Well, and drafting is it's just basically vomit on a screen or a piece of paper, right? Like, it's just word vomit everywhere. And I think that what a lot of people don't understand about it is you have to go back and fix it. And that's why they don't finish their novel, because they're like, this is garbage. They don't understand it's supposed to be garbage.
Yeah, that's like that analogy I see online all the time. It's like looking at all the ingredients on the counter and being like, this is a terrible cake. And it's like, well, yeah, you haven't made it yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're looking at the rough ingredients. It hasn't had time to bake.
It hasn't. And I see so many people saying, well, I can't write, or I see so many new writers just sitting around and I did it too, and it's part of the process. And once you get through, the first stage, writing the first draft, you kind of understand, like when you go back and you fix it. But I see so many new writers like spending so much time writing a paragraph, and they get so frustrated. And again, like I said, they're just like, I'm a shit writer. And I'm like, well, no, just get it out. Get it out. It's
Yeah.
going to be ugly.
I tell my author coaching clients, like, you can't edit a blank page. So
Yep.
as long as you put something on the page, you're good.
Absolutely. And it might not be right, right? It like doesn't fit into the story. The novel I was working on was I got the idea in 15 years or 15 years ago, but let me first say I love that you've basically grown up with the whole indie publishing world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because you
Oh,
saw what
yeah.
it started out to be, and all of the great tools that they have now and help make so much easier, and still not easy.
Well, it's still not easy, but I feel like if it had been how it is now, I probably would have finished that series that I
Yeah.
started. But again, I grew and changed, and so you may start a book and then end it and feel like you're gonna continue, and then you realize you've kind of grown past that idea and you wanna move on to something else.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the more you write, the better you become at writing. So
Yeah, which sucks.
it does. Well, I think one of the great things about indie publishing that, and I've learned it, right? Like I'm pretty enmeshed in the world of indie publishing, not like the actual world, but if you right, I've heard so many people say, even traditionally published people who are now indie, they're like, I just want to go back and fix the first book I ever published, but I can't
Yes.
because the publisher owns it. But
Yeah,
if you start out in indie, like you can go back. It could be a special edition, it could be a second edition, it could be exclusive, it can be annotated. Like there could be so many
yeah.
different changes that you can make.
When did you know that you wanted to be a writer? Did you ever have that moment where you're like, "Oh, this is what I wanna do," or did it just kinda happen?
So I was in second grade when I wrote my first book, and I was a very dark child, like Wednesday Adams dark, like
Oh
my
god, we're
first.
the same person.
Yeah? Okay, good. My favorite novel or my favorite story was The Girl with the Green Ribbon, and my,
Oh my
first
god, me
novel.
too! I have
Yay!
that.
That's awesome. I love it. But, I showed my kids it when they were toddler or, like, when they were, like, 6 and 7, and they were terrified, and I'm like,
But it's
"Okay."
so
It
cool.
was. It was. But I wrote about Bambi dying, basically. Like he got shot and he died. So,
Ah,
um
amazing.
So I always wanted to write, and obviously because of, external influences and all kinds of neurological stuff, I actually didn't believe in myself enough to be a writer or even call myself a writer. That's a whole other thing. I think you probably
Yeah.
understand that too. We all go through that. But I didn't do it. Like I would write something down and then I would scratch it out, or I would write something down and I would rip it up. Like I was just like, I'm a
Mhm,
terrible writer. I'm not going to do this. And I denied it for a really long time. And I was, like I said, I came from sort of like a complicated family. Like there was a trauma and everything like that. And it was cyclical trauma. So I
mhm.
had to kind of work through that. And one day I woke up with a dream and the characters wouldn't leave me the fuck alone. I can say that differently if you don't want to.
No, that's totally fine.
They wouldn't stop, like none of them. So I started writing it down and I was
Yeah,
20. Yeah, I think I said it. I think I was 28 at the time. I had two small children. Because of the past that I had, I came from, it was not a good marriage. So I was married. I ended up leaving him and I did what I want to do. He's got a wife and a kid, besides our children. And it was really the best call for us.
mhm,
And then I went to college because I had always wanted to go to college with the intent that I was going to be a writer. And
yeah,
because I still didn't believe in myself, I was like, well, I'll just go be a professional writer. I'll write technical books and that kind of stuff. So that was my
yeah.
path. And then college gave me more confidence and people were like, "Well, why aren't you writing now?" I'm like, "Because college with two small children and a house and a full-time job is my brain is
Yeah.
not there."
I went to school for writing as an 18-year-old, and I still did not finish that book until, like, 2 years after I graduated.
Right? Well, it's so
Yeah,
much. Like, I would never change my
yeah.
experience ever, and I always recommend people go to college because it opens your mind. You might not open it might open your mind to be like, "I hate this," but at least you experience
It
it.
still did it. It still
Yeah.
opened you up to it.
I'll never
Yeah.
go back, though. I'm
Oh
like,
god,
"No, I'm
no, no.
tired."
I know, I know. I think my mom asked once, like, "Aren't you gonna get your master's?" And I laughed for, like, 5 minutes straight. I was like, "No. Why would I do that to
Right.
myself?"
Right. Oh, I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had I accidentally picked up a major, so I was doing a double major, and it was in religious studies, and it was super cool, and it gave me this really interesting view on critical thinking, and I got to learn a lot about world religions and just cultures, and I got a chance. I specialized in Eastern and African religions, and so at my it's called a capstone. I went to, take my final, and I had three professors who were judging me. And the one professor was like, "You're going to be a PhD." And I was like, "No, I will never be
How
that."
dare you?
No. But then I told you I had started working 2015 from home, again,
Yeah.
building up on that whole technical writing thing. I started doing newsletters and blah, blah, blah. Again, I always had that goal in my brain, like I'm going to publish my own thing sometimes, but it was a really slow
Mhm.
process. And 2019, I moved into ghostwriting. And then by 2020, I was like, screw technical writing. I fucking hate it. I'm going to go into fiction. So,
Yeah.
and then, it was just 15 years. So I always wanted to. I didn't believe in myself. And then I did it.
Yeah, that's I feel like that is a common thread with all of us
Hmm.
authors, regardless of how you publish. I mean, I left my full-time job in 2018 and got a ghostwriting job while I was still training my replacement. So
Yeah.
I was already writing. I mean, I don't go to work there anymore. I was writing on the job anyways, but then I was being paid for it right at the end. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And even though, like, I was doing all this writing and then I put out 2 books of my own, which were old stories I had written a while ago, and I don't think it was last year, it was the year before, I ended up being on a panel in my home state for Puerto Rican authors from Connecticut,
Wow.
and I was just like I saw a post online, my cousin sent it to me, and I went in, and it was probably the most beautiful experience of my life, and I was sitting in this role, I think there was, like, 12 or 13 of us, which is amazing for a Puerto Rican writer because
Hmm.
you never hear about us, and they were each telling what they did, and the mic is coming closer to me, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Why do I have imposter syndrome? I deserve to be here." Like, and that's the first time I've told
Right.
myself that, and then I get the
Yeah.
mic and I kinda say all the stuff that I do, and then I go to pass the mic, and in the front row, my aunt, so loud, goes, "Beat that to the next person who gets the
Oh my
mic."
gosh.
And I was just like, "Oh, well, the worst has already happened, and might as well just go with the flow at this point."
Yeah. That's so sweet.
It is, but I remember when I finally finished that first book, my husband actually got it printed and bound for me, so I still have it. But what was it like for you when you finally finished that first novel?
So again, like when I first wrote, I had no idea about how to write a book or anything like that. And I filled in like and this was I was handwriting because this was 2008, 2000,
Yep.
10-ish. So I handwrit everything in like 17 notebooks. And the story kept coming, but I was kind of like, okay, the voices have quieted. This is going to be a series of trilogies. There's going to be 4 trilogies. It's technically 12 books and blah, 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 which it's
Why do we
crazy.
always do that?
Oh my gosh.
As first time writers.
Right. Well, and it's still pretty accurate. Like, I have novellas now. Like, my side characters are starting to go on quests, and I'm like, I will
Awesome.
never be done. Thank you. Yes, I think so. But when I finished the first draft, like after I'd sort of honed the craft and started everything, I absolutely cried. And then I felt silly for crying. And then I cried again and was like, you don't need to feel silly for crying. This is 15 years in the making. So it was really amazing. And I think the one thing that's so common, because I do author spotlights, which I think that you are also spotlighting or
Yeah.
have been spotlighted. Sorry, I don't have that off my top of my head.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah.
But the one thing that every single writer says in some kind of iteration when they pick the question, what would you tell your younger self about writing? It is always do it now.
Yeah.
Do it sooner. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And when you do it more often, it really does flow easier.
Right.
And I also found like consuming other media that's completely different helps me a lot more.
Oh, good.
Because if I'm consuming the same media over and over again, I'm getting the same ideas over and
Mhm.
over again. So if I like watch a completely different genre, like I love horror movies and horror TV shows and documentaries like that, but I don't write those. That's my like media snack while I do the other
Right.
stuff that I do. But it really helps get you in a good mindset, and once you get into a good mindset and start these little writing rituals, the words flow pretty easy. So, like, for me, anytime I start a new project, I create a playlist for that project. And I try to keep songs on there that I don't have on other playlists, so
Mhm.
that when I put that music on, my brain immediately goes into the characters. So that's part of my writing rituals when I get started. Do you have any writing rituals of your own? How have they developed over the years? Or do you just go, well, I'm just going to write now and see what happens?
I've always been more of a like, let's see what happens, throw spaghetti on the wall. But I and my background is really funny because, like I said, I was a really dark kid. I
Mhm.
loved R.L. Stein. I loved I can't
Yep.
remember any of them. Like I read, The Lifeguard, and I read like You're Invited and stuff.
Yeah. I literally have a trunk behind me that has all my books from middle school, and half of them are R.L. Stein.
Yes. And then I read Babysitter's Club. So I have this,
Yep, that too.
it's such a weird mix, a variety of stuff. So I kind of lean into that. But you mentioned playlists. So I do two things when I write. And when I tell people the second thing, they're like, what? But the first one is I always have music. I love music. I would never want to be a musician, but I love the lyrics. I love the layers of the music and how it just like I can break it down and I just, ugh. And so my characters always have at least a top 5 playlist. And I don't necessarily do that right away, but I'm doing a novella right now and it's for the main character from my main series, her father. And it's
Mhm.
Michael and Estella. And I'm like, "All right, Michael, tell me what music you like." And then he'll like tell me, and then that sort of helps form the character.
Yeah.
And then Estella is his, fated mate situation. And although I didn't start that, but people call it that. So I'm just going to roll with it because
Sometimes that's just the way it goes.
right, right. Like I never thought that my series was romantasy. And then all the reviewers are calling it romantasy. And I'm like, I'm not going to fight you,
I'm not gonna argue.
but they have sex. I write them
Okay.
having sex. So all of my characters are super horny bastards. And
As well they should be.
right. Like, and I originally put open door scenes in. First off, I was a huge fan of Laurel K. Hamilton. So, I'm inspired by that too. Although the repetitive words and everything like that,
Yeah,
It is.
there's only so many ways you can say certain things without it sounding weird.
Right, right. So that was one of the reasons I used to be, demure about doing sex scenes, and then I was like, "No, I'm okay. I'm gonna do them." But my characters are so young that it kept looking like YA, and I was like, "This is not YA themed. It's all open door. There's going to be swearing and open door, and it is not YA." Not that
Mhm.
there's anything wrong with YA, it's just the darker themes that I work with don't actually go with the genre. And I want to
Yeah.
write I want sex. But it's the best way to get to know characters because it's an intimate environment
Yeah.
and you see how they treat each other and you see the conversations because I always put conversations in with my sex scenes.
Yes, it's called sexposition.
Yeah.
Sex exposition, yep,
Um,
I'm a
and
fan.
right. So I love it too because it's just a different way to get to know your characters. And I don't keep all the sex scenes in my novels. Sometimes I just do it off page just because it's a really great way for me to do that.
Yeah, that's great, and
Thank you.
it's funny because I've also kind of always written sex scenes and things even when I was way too young to be doing such a
Right.
thing. And not again, not that there's anything wrong with closed doors,
Yeah.
it's whatever the story entails, whatever you're comfortable with, but I've sort of learned to develop a different language during those scenes depending on who I'm writing. So, in my current novel that I'm really trying to finish, it's a queer pirate
Hmm.
romance series, and the main character is a romantic lead, and she's angry about it.
That sounds
So, like
hilarious. Yeah, that sounds great.
yeah, so her approach to sex with the male main character is more carnally, it's more about just stress relief, things like
Hmm.
that. Whereas his approach to her is more romantic. And so the way he responds to her is different from the way she responds to him. And for me, it's just a great way to have a visual reflection of their dynamic.
Yeah. Something that is really surprising to me and I get excited about is so 3 is a really prevalent number in my whole series. In the whole world, everything's gonna come to 3 when I'm writing anything in this Emberlin's world, Try and
Mhm.
Perfectum world. But I didn't realize that was going to mean that that was going to be like bisexuality and 3 people for a couple and everything. So that's really an interesting dynamic. I've only done one threesome that is not like it's not for a book that's been written yet, but it will be part of it because I was kind of
Yeah,
like, it popped into my head one day and I was like, oh,
yeah,
oh, all right.
yeah. I completely get that. I have 4 chapters left to fully draft this novel that I've been trying to write since 2016. And
Hmm.
I think the reason why I haven't been able to really write it until a couple years ago is because that character has a huge chip on her shoulder,
Yeah.
and I had to go through a lot to be able to unpack that for her.
Yeah.
And so when I came back to this book after finishing my audio drama, I obviously had to reread everything because it had been like 10 months since I had worked on it. And I realized that I had gotten to a part where there had been a couple of sex scenes. I wanted to add more because it's fun.
Yeah.
But there is a part where she's finally reunited with one of her shipmates, and they have like who's a female as well, and they
Mhm.
have like an intimate moment together, and nothing becomes of it. And I didn't think anything of it at the time, but a couple weeks ago, I was like, it just kind of came into my head where I was like, you need to extend that
Yeah.
because A, sapphic representation, great.
Yep.
And B, it also shows their closeness. And even though she doesn't have the closeness with the male lead as he would want, it does show that she can be that close with someone else.
Yeah.
It just may not be him.
That's awesome too. I love that. I love it when that kind of stuff happens too. It's just the puzzle piece fitting right
Yeah.
exactly that satisfaction. I
Yeah.
always had male relationship because my two main characters both have brothers, And those brothers got together also. So that was actually my first novella. I didn't, because I'm not a homosexual male, I did not write the sex scene open door for them because I didn't have, this sounds so awful. I didn't have enough time to get a sensitivity reader because when I wanted to publish
Yeah.
it. So now
Yeah.
I'm taking it and I'm expanding it into like a full length novel. So the sex scene is there. I have my editor looking at it now. I do have a couple of sensitivity readers, so they'll be reading it. But it was just like, okay, all right, this is something I didn't know about you. Now I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love when that happens. I love when the characters tell you who they are,
oh yeah.
because all you can really do is be like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
It's like, "Cool, I didn't have to make this up, they made it up for me."
Exactly. Well, and they do whatever the hell they want anyway. I mean,
Yeah,
I was
100%.
writing, there was a climax scene in book 1, and I was writing, I knew exactly how it was supposed to go. It had gone this way in every single rewrite that I had been rewriting from first book to, this one. And then the brother Max, he was just like, nah, we're gonna go this way. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna go this way. And he's like, yeah, we are. I'm like, this isn't supposed to be happening. He's like, yes, it is. And it made sense after I was writing it, but I was like, what
Yeah.
the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I felt like with my main character, Phoenix, when she
Hmm.
was like, why aren't I sleeping with this person?" And I was like, I don't I don't know, you're just not." And she's like, "No, I'm not because you're monogamous, but I am not." And I was like, "Oh, you're so right." I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Right. Right. It's just
Yeah.
I do love those moments, and it does make everything else about writing the hardest parts. I feel like it makes it so worth it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Just with those moments that you're not expecting because you know your readers most likely won't be expecting it either, or they'll feel validated because that's what they were reading into.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, you're right. So when you were doing a lot of writing and, kind of going to school or even just throughout your writing career now, what is the best piece of writing advice you've taken to heart?
Really, it's just trust yourself. Trust yourself enough to know that you're going to get there. Because, like I said, they will do whatever the hell they want. And I think that that comes with, again, more writing, the more you start to trust yourself and be like, oh, yeah, I do know how to pen a conversation, for dialogue where it feels natural. And the other thing, which doesn't necessarily have to do with writing, but it still kind of has to do with writing, is there's always another way. Like from 2020, and I don't know how you felt about this, to 2023, had my ego ground into such a powder. And when I was crying and sobbing and saying, I don't want to do this anymore, my husband was like, but this is what you want to do. And you're right. You're right. And in that process, I was also finding out like these people were quitting or they were blaming the writing because they weren't marketing and, they weren't taught proper, procedures. I always saw
Mhm.
the other way. Like, just because you write something and it's supposed to go in this direction, it's okay that it goes in this direction. Just with indie publishing, just because Amazon changes it, that you can't put bestseller on Amazon bestseller on your cover anymore, or they take your book down. And that was like, I don't know, like 7 to 9 months ago. I don't know if that's still the same. Again, it just always constantly changes. And just because you come up with a barrier, because you will, doesn't mean there's not a way around it. You just
Mhm.
got to figure out which way to go.
Yeah, and I think that kind of circles to my last question that really covers it, which is what advice would you give to new indie authors? And I think that's a good one is that
Yeah.
it's always going to be changing. And as frustrating as that is, the fact that you have control over
Hmm.
your own material and you have control over the way that it's presented to people is going to help you deal with
Yeah.
the bullshit that gets hurled at you from someone or
And it
something
will, and it
else.
makes you so much stronger, and it doesn't feel like it at a time. I remember I was busting my freaking bones, you know what I mean? Just to show this woman, like, I
Yeah.
had seen exactly what you needed to do, and it wasn't an instant success, but that's what those people from the academies were peddling, right? Like, if you write a book a month, you'll be a
Yeah.
millionaire, which was total bullshit, even for bestsellers, right?
Yeah. That's
I
exhausting.
mean, it takes years to
Yeah.
actually build up a following, unless you have unlimited funds to keep pushing yourself into people's faces, which some people do. But just she was just like, "Well, it's not happening fast enough," and she had some family sicknesses and everything, and I was more than willing and more than happy to keep going on what we had built together, and she just shut
Mhm.
everything down, and I remember thinking, like, "When am I going to actually just let rejection roll off my back? Because I know I'm going to get to that point, but it
Yeah.
still didn't." And eventually, it really was just like, "You know what? Not that that client was, but I worked with a few more asshole clients after that, and they were just dicks." Like,
Yeah. I had a client like that. I was working for a ghostwriting company, and I was doing a lot for a little I had, like, 2
right.
projects going at once, and it was, like, the due date, which was a fast turnaround, like, it was a really stupid short amount of time they needed things to be done, and I had 2,000 words left
Yep.
because it's by word count. So I posted in the conversation with, my client and everyone, "Hey, the due date is today. I'm posting this to show you I have the book. I have about 2,000 more words that I'm using to
Mhm.
flesh scenes out." And she apparently called my boss flipping out saying that, "Oh, I didn't pay to be shortchanged on words, she's gonna just add them in anywhere and it's gonna mess things up," like, having no idea, like, totally misreading the
Mhm.
whole thing that I said. And it was sort of at that point where I was just like, "I
Right.
can't work for these people anymore." And I officially quit when they wouldn't give me an extension because I was
Mhm.
having some medical issues. And I got this really nasty email like a week later from the boss being like, "Why isn't this done yet? You're missing out on this much money for only a few hours work. And if it's not done by this day, I need to reassign it to somebody." And my husband, who was answering my emails at the time because that's where my nerves were, I was like, "Just write 2 words, go ahead." And I
Mhm.
felt so much better leaving, and then one of the clients I had been working with, who I didn't get to finish her book, it was the only one I didn't get to finish, found me through my website a couple months later, and I've been working for her
That's
directly ever
awesome.
since.
My experience was a little bit different. I am not a very good freelance contractor. I really like stability. I'm a personal assistant part-time for a woman I've worked with since 2019. I have seen everything she's gone through. I'm like, that's what I need. So when I stepped into the ghostwriting world, I too was at a ghostwriting company, and those things are like damn puppy mills, right? Like,
Yes, yes. Oh, it's so
and they
frustrating.
they barely paid 1 cent an hour or 1 cent a word, which is nothing.
Yep, correct.
So
Yeah.
I left, I went to Upwork. I found 2 clients that I was like, "Okay, these can be long-term clients." They had a plan, they were writing a series, everything like that. And then the one client introduced me to another client, so I was like, "Okay, she has a series, we'll that'll be great. I'll have these 3 clients, I'm set." So that's not the way it worked.
Oh,
The one woman, none of them, first off, understood how writing actually works.
yes!
So
So
it
frustrating.
really was. I was following the woman's outline. She wasn't a writer, she made an outline. So I followed that woman's outline. She sent it to betas. Betas were like, "What the hell is this?" And then she told me something along the lines of, "Well, you don't know what you're doing." And so when people tell me that, I get really pissed off and I'm like, "Fuck you. I'm going to show you I know what I'm doing, and it is not me, it is you." And I did. And I wrote 30,000 words in like 4 days because I was so pissed off.
Spite is a great motivator.
It really, really was. And I presented it to her, and it still was in draft form, and it still wasn't edited, and it still had plot holes. She's like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "Because I didn't listen to your damn self. That's how I did it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing." So I went through that whole thing. I made like $9,000 that year. It was awful because I kept rewriting and listening to this client and doing that. And I did it for, her friends. And so I decided after she dropped me, because all of a sudden she was out of money and she couldn't do this, even though she had 2.5 books written and could have published it anyway.
Mhm.
I decided, well, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to let the client, if you're not a writer, write the outline, because
Yeah.
I know the beats. I know what sells. I do the research. Even though contemporary romance isn't where I sat,
Yeah.
I have a formula. I understand it. So I started working with another woman who wanted a series. This is my last client. And I wrote 2 books for her in 10 weeks, and they were really good. They were edited very quickly. I won't say that they were stellar because, again, I wrote 50,000 words in, 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And she got this partner on board, and they just kept saying, "Oh, I want something real to happen to these characters." And I'm
What
like,
does that mean?
"This is yeah." So, and then I'm like, "This is contemporary romance." And at one point she said, "No, no, these are good. They're just missing something." And I was like, "Yes, they're missing time and money. You pay me 150, right? You pay me $150 a week. That is nothing, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's me working at Kmart when I was 16 years
Yeah.
old."
Mhm.
So her partner, they decided to start working together, and they're like, "Well, we're going to write the outline." And I was like, "No, I've been there, I've done that. You need to get a new author.
Yeah.
You need to get a new ghostwriter who is just new."
Yeah.
But I was like, "Listen, I understand the formula, how it's broken down." She's like, "Well, you understand the formula, but there's no feeling behind it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"What an asshole." So, and
Uh,
they still don't know why I left. Like, I was very clear, and they were like, "Oh, well, you said you're publishing your own book, so you don't want to do it with me anymore." And I was like, "I was showing you how to do everything."
yeah. Yeah, I found out when my client reached out to me and I got to officially apologize for leaving her project. She told me that they said I had accepted a full-time job somewhere.
Oh,
And I was like, actually, because I'm a very honest person to an
right.
annoying degree, I was like,
Yeah,
actually, this is what happened. And I kind of explained, not in full detail, but
right.
like I was not in a good mental state. And she was floored.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been an amazing client. Like, I've so blessed. Ivy, if you're listening, I love you to death.
Oh,
And we just have such a great rapport, and I had to step up to what you did with your clients and be like, "I this is not working.
right.
I'm doing the thing, I just don't have enough time." And I think to kinda tie everything together, that comes with trusting yourself and
Mm-hmm.
listening to yourself, and listening to what your mind is telling you, what your body is telling you, and not being afraid to be like, "Enough. This isn't working."
Well, right. And I mean, even to jump on that, like, I have fibromyalgia, so that's a chronic disorder. I will always have it. Some days are good, some days are bad. That whole year, I think I basically worked from bed because I was so stressed out and in so much pain. I couldn't do it to myself anymore.
Yeah.
And I also am really good at learning lessons, so I don't keep doing the same thing and beating myself in the head because it's not working. Like I said, I there's always another way. I
Yeah.
will find another way. If that was just, it was an experience. I had it. I don't know that I recommend anybody else doing it
Yeah.
because it was really hard, but that's how I learned how to craft a novel.
Yeah, I actually a couple years ago, I had someone reach out to me through Facebook because they were thinking of joining that company, and I don't know how they found me. I think it was just like an old discussion board or something like that,
Mhm.
that I was there, but they asked me about it, and I was very candid, and I was like,
Yeah.
"This is my experience," and I highlighted because I didn't know this person, so I was like, "This is how it was for me a few years ago. I don't know if it's changed at all, but I'm letting you know this is what I experienced. And they were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, so you asked for my opinion. This is what happened. And one of the things I love about the indie author community is that we all share those stories with each
Yes.
other. I'm a part of so many groups where it's just like, hey, this person has stolen so and so's ideas, or this person has stolen someone's artwork, or, and
Yeah.
sometimes those things work in people's best interest because it's so hard to avoid scammers, especially when you're new and you really want to get things started, and you've got all this optimism and you don't know where to put it, and and I
And
just
it
want to
gets
say
ground out of you really fast. Like,
exactly. And so I love the indie author community because I feel like it fosters that enthusiasm, and I feel like each veteran indie author is like the meme where they're holding they're holding Kevin Hart and pointing at the person in front of them. Like, it's very much that's us with like young indie authors. Like, don't you dare hurt them. Like
right. Right. Well, and like I said, I'm new to social media in the sense that before I started on social media, I hadn't been on social media. Instagram was nothing at the time.
Yep.
And I hadn't been on social media since 2010 purposefully because there were a lot of harmful things and harmful people, and it
Yeah.
was sort of a guerrilla kind of life. I have not found any other community, and like I said, I kind of know a lot of people because I like to meet people, and I like to, even though I'm an introvert,
Yep.
so I know a lot of people. I have not found any place as respectful and kind and accepting than I have in the Instagram community. And I'm not saying that it's not that way on Twitter or TikTok. TikTok hurts my brain. I have an account,
Yep.
somebody else deals with it. But that's really where I found my home. And it's just, that's where we met,
Yeah.
was Instagram. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
were one of my spotlights and we've in so many groups together.
we have been.
Yeah.
It is nice to talk to you though. And
Yeah.
but I've been at Instagram for a year now, and I love that there are so many people willing to share the information and then willing to understand that I know the information and
Yeah.
to listen to me with respect instead of telling me, no, I'm going to do it this way because I think I know better, even though I've never written a book. I'm going to make an outline.
Yes.
It's not
100%.
going to be a good outline.
Well, Kara, thanks for coming to talk to me. How about you share where people can find you online, and I'll pop some links in the description.
Thank you so much again for having me. I really have had fun. I know we talked about this sooner, but I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, you're totally fine.
Thank you. You can find me at Instagram. Like I said, I am there. It's at Kara M Zone _writes. I am at my website a lot. I have a newsletter. And if you sign up for my newsletter, you get a free novella that's exclusive. That's just at karamzone.com. And my email and information is there. I am on TikTok. Like I said, somebody else kind of deals with it. I'll pop in once in a while and answer some DMs, but again, it kind of doesn't
Yeah.
work with the brain.
Yep, same.
It's Kara M Zone author. So I think that's pretty much it. I am starting to offer my indie consulting services more openly at this point. So if anybody wants to learn about indie consulting, I do have actual clients at this point. So people are trusting me to do things, and I can help break down a strategy.
There you go.
Strategy. There we go.
Again, thanks for coming, Kara, and thanks to everyone for listening, and happy writing.
Happy writing.